Hello and welcome to Luke Salmon. That is of course my name. I am walking through Canford Heath at the moment on a break just to work out and decide on the future, what's been happening in the world recently. I want to discuss what's happening on YouTube. I've seen a lot of videos relating to a lot of people quitting their jobs. I still work a full-time job, 9 to 5, like a lot of people on YouTube attest to leaving. And there's certainly a lot of people who disagree with the 9 to 5 job idea, and it's starting to get to people, and I think a lot of that is down to the mentality of the world as we move into this new era, let's say, very swiftly, in fact. Certainly faster than a lot of us probably expect. And this new era that I'm talking about here is to do with, you guessed it, artificial intelligence. When it comes to AI, what it's capable of, what I think a lot of people probably don't realise is the fact that although there has been plenty of people, Google executives and the likes, talking about how it's possible for AI to be an existential threat to the human race, well, although AI can develop a lot of things, it can only create based on existing material. It can only create based on what already exists. It cannot create from pure imagination because AI does not have pure imagination. It still requires human input. Based on a lot of research that has been conducted by a lot of different people, it seems that the world is very quickly shifting in terms of the workplace environments, and it's quickly manifesting. It's quickly manifesting into what you could describe as a job market exodus. I wrote this at length in one of my blog articles on my website lukesalmon.com, describing the job market exodus relating to AI. Now, some sources, the World Economic Forum included, describe that a lot of this so-say job displacement will eventually lead to a shift in the number of high-skilled workers being required to maintain and continue development of AI-based services. That seems a little far-fetched. I think that a lot of people in the job markets, especially the lower skilled jobs, are going to find it increasingly more difficult to find a position. A lot of people are leaving their jobs. People who are, like mentioned, attesting to the 9 to 5 grind and how it's impacting their mental health, or they just want a change of scene. Okay, fair enough. A lot of those people might find success in entrepreneurship or managing their own business. That's all well and good. But what about those people who are quitting 9 to 5 because they just want to quit the 9 to 5 routine? Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be any better than someone who has no job at all, who is currently dependent on what we would consider the dole here in the UK. The dole is basically surviving on the benefit system. They make it incredibly difficult for you to get onto the benefit system, yet they want to bring in universal basic income. This has been talked about for years. The whole point of universal basic income is because they knew that the advent of AI and relevant technologies would displace hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of jobs. People who are making the move from 9 to 5 into self-employment might seem like they're doing the right thing financially because they have financial freedom. But the whole point of universal basic income is to get people dependent on the system. They want people to depend on the system because it serves their agenda. Quitting your 9 to 5 job could quite literally be committing suicide. It might not be immediate, but it could very easily be noticeable many months or years down the line. We should certainly be careful what we do in our lives. A lot of people who attest to leaving the 9 to 5 grind often talk about how much better they feel mentally, physically. And I totally get that. But what's life if you have no purpose? When people go to the job market and find a job because it gives them a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning in life, because without it we would go insane. Some people are okay being self-motivated as they are to develop their skills in whatever area they want to develop it in and start a business within that area. It's totally fine, I get it. But later down the line, when universal basic income becomes the norm, for a lot of people in the UK and across the world, there will be a time and a cut-off point on businesses to give up their assets. There will come a time when that happens. And believe it or not, and whether you like it or not, all businesses will be told to give up their assets in some form or another. Why, you might ask? You might think that this is a conspiracy theory or some ridiculous idea that somehow that giving up your assets is something that they're not going to do anytime soon. Well, let's put things into perspective. We're on the brink of World War III. Artificial intelligence is displacing jobs at a faster rate than we probably thought was possible. People say programmers are going to be obsolete within the next 10 years. Myself being a programmer, I don't do web design, so I'm not massively concerned about my programming specifically, since I work on video game development. But I think it's important that even 10 years is quite optimistic, in my opinion. 10 years until you're obsolete seems very optimistic. And I say that as no joke. This isn't just about AI, it's about the war that is seemingly expanding and what this will do is give countries around the world who know that the economy is failing to give it up and replace it with a digital currency. And in this digital currency, all assets that relied on a fiat currency would have to be given up, because those assets would no longer be valuable under a digital system. So those assets would have to be converted to digital assets, and by extension would give the legal rights and authorities the power then to dictate who owns those assets, because it's all in a digital system. Now let's talk about cryptocurrency. What's possible with cryptocurrency? A lot of people also don't talk about what the potential is for cryptocurrency. Well, Bitcoin was obviously invented a long time ago. It was circulating for a long time, and has been for a long time. It's one of the very first cryptocurrencies out there. In my opinion, Bitcoin was kind of like a test. It was a test to basically see how it's possible to control a digital world, basically. And that's what cryptocurrency is about. Bitcoin was a test. And that's my opinion. What does that mean in practice then? Well, obviously they're using a cryptocurrency using a proprietary blockchain. What generates cryptocurrency? Well, people need to use computers to generate cryptocurrency. Computers have to perform complex mathematical operations to generate blocks, and those blocks have to be validated in order to make a coin, one coin, right? And then that gets distributed into the network. And there's different types of algorithms that generate these blocks from random numbers. There's proof of work. That's one of them that I'm aware of, and I think there's a few other proofs. I can't think of the names off the top of my head, but they're out there, and basically you're having to consume a lot of energy to make these coins, right? So what does that mean? It basically means that all cryptocurrencies are dependent on energy. And this dependency on energy is also something that artificial intelligence depends on. Do you get where I'm going with this? Basically, because both cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence depends on energy, artificial intelligence can decide for a lot of people, if not everyone, on planet Earth, whether or not you are allowed cryptocurrency, whether you are allowed a digital wallet, and how much crypto you're allowed, or digital currency as it were. You might be limited on how much you can spend in any given day. You might be limited on how much you can earn. All these things that is possible with the advent of artificial intelligence having control over an economic system that is highly dependent on energy. And with the reliance on energy in everything, it becomes almost impossible to escape that totalitarian nightmare. And so, who's going to stop this? Well, it's already in full speed motion. What's happening in the world, this war that is happening, is all part of this plan to reset the world. They can't hide it from us any longer. It's pretty obvious now that their agenda is very much on the surface for everyone to see. Just people are opting not to see it. It's entirely up to people. If you're in the 9 to 5 grind and you don't like it, well, I'm sorry to say this, but tough shit. Put up with it for a little while longer, because what is going to happen in the future is going to be far worse if you were self-employed than if you were employed. Businesses, as I said, will likely be told to turn over their assets, basically convert it into digital property that can be controlled by a digitally governing agency, by which can control those digital assets. If you're self-employed and you speak in the ways that I speak, I'm well aware of the consequences of speaking my mind and what could possibly happen in the future. But nothing is worse than not speaking my mind and letting the world unfold than it is to speak it and hope that people will listen. And that's the way I feel about this world and about the way things are going. Thank you for listening.